Okay, so let's try this again. Hi, welcome guys to the Wild Protea's usual Friday session. This only thing being different is we're gonna have Sia Subaya joining us shortly. Uh, let's just see if we can get that going. Adding. Just waiting for Sia to connect, and then we'll go ahead. How's it, my brother?
Husband, sorry man, I was trying to use the computer but it wasn't working. I failed dismally there. So hopefully
No
my phone
stress, bud.
battery
No stress.
will suffice for the conversation.
Yeah, I had to charge mine as well. We had some load shedding here, so I just had to sort that out.
No
But yeah,
stress, no worries.
everything's good now, so we should be good to start. Just give me 1 second quickly. I just need to go fix
No
something.
worries, man.
2 seconds.
No worries.
Okay,
Uh,
right. So teething problems out the way. Let's hope it
no
goes
worries.
smoothly. So first of all, I just want to
Yeah.
welcome you and all to the Wild Protea. So, as I've said before, what I'm trying to do is create a South African fan channel for sports, and so this will be up afterward on the Fair Digest YouTube channel as well. So, guys, go like, go subscribe, and also hit the notification button so you can get all the latest from the Wild Protea. So, yeah, first things first, live cricket is back. England versus the West Indies. So far.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just battling a little bit with connection there. You guys probably have shocking weather again.
Yeah, definitely. So did you hear the question?
No, I'm trying to hear you properly because of it's a bit distorted. Um,
Okay.
but I heard you say live cricket.
Yeah, with England versus West Indies. Your thoughts on the first couple of days?
Jeez, I remember chatting to you and someone else earlier on, a couple of days before the test match, saying that I think the West Indies have a shout here because I think um, with all the England bowlers being fit, someone was going to miss out. So they're either going to leave someone with control out or someone with a bit of extra pace. Um, and they even left abroad, which is kind of strange because even the commentators they couldn't decide between Archer because of the pace, but they leave out Broad, who in the previous tour was one of the top bowlers, was their best bowler, and in South Africa was their best bowler. So that didn't make sense. But that's in terms of selection. But what I'm seeing here is that the West Indies are they're playing classic Test cricket, um, which is very refreshing to see from them. But I mean, they've been investing in the side for the last 5 years. So I'm quite excited with what I've
Yeah,
seen.
definitely.
I've enjoyed watching the West Indies do well. Um, it's every black kid's second team after South Africa. So
Definitely.
I definitely have enjoyed the last few days. It's been intriguing. I think the quality this evening showed his quality. Holder's captaincy. I spoke to you about Carlos Brathwaite, saying that he's going to Brathwaite, and saying that he's going to need to be a key
Lead the
guy
way
in
with
that
some
top
runs,
order
yeah.
because England's top four is a little bit is not steady. They don't have an opening pair that can get them to, they're trying to find a way with this opening pair. I know they've done well recently, but the whole top four is, having not played cricket for so long, was always going to be challenged. So I found there's a couple of things that are interesting. The toss deciding to bat first. Uh, Probably would have tried to get everyone out of the park and bowl, get the bowlers in their feet and running in and bowling, and get the team out there because it had been such a long time since they've been in a competitive space. Um, so the wicket would have had something in it with all the rain around and the overhead conditions, which I thought would have played into having Jimmy Anderson, with the new ball up front in the first sort of session of the Test match. But yeah, been good so far. Been really impressed with the different battles, and it's exciting.
I at the toss, bowling first, especially in England, their bowlers are sort of used to those conditions. The Windies did struggle a bit on day one to find that right length. I think that had it been the English attack out there, maybe they could have found that right length a bit sooner. So a strange one there from Stokes. Also leaving out such a skillful bowler as Stuart Broad stuck out for me. Obviously, he had a little interview, I think at lunch today or before the day's play today, saying how aggrieved and how angry he is and looking forward to obviously getting back in the side and doing well. Obviously he was the best bowler when they did play here in South Africa, so that was a strange one. And then, just touching on our conversation we had the other day with the West Indies, they did struggle for a number of years, but they struggled. There's a difference for me with struggling with youngsters and struggling with senior to gain that momentum again. But when you struggle with youngsters, they then have the potential to go on and push on like the West Indies are doing now, and they're a very good side, I think, for the next sort of 4 or 5, maybe even longer than that years.
100%. They're looking really good. I mean, look, they were brave as a nation, or as a group of nations,
Yeah.
to go and stick with a guy like Holder and really back him as a young captain, who I think now, I mean, he's the number one all-rounder in the world in Test cricket. And, he didn't bat well today. I thought his dismissal was a bit soft. If he bats another 10, 15 overs, they just drag it a bit on him and Dowrich. But nevertheless, you saw his quality with the ball. The way he captained and managed those four bowlers in the field in the first innings. Things are looking really, really bright for the West Indies. I think they still need a couple of strong contributions from Shire Hope, who's a massive talent, but he's really had. He started off. He's really had 2017 was good for him, but since then, 2018 not so great. 2019 not good either. So there's a couple of things that maybe he needs to work on. But I think overall the West Indies have a lot more positive potential, having invested in youth and taken that risk.
Yeah, no, definitely. You know what? I think that investing in youth is something that in cricket especially is something that is usually seen with more of the bowling side, and West Indies have gone the other way with investing in youth with the batsman, and then investing in youth with an all-rounder like Jason Holder, who, to be honest, when he this player, this leader, They gave him the captaincy at a very, very young age, and I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But they obviously know the character of the man and the type of leader that he is, and you could see it yesterday as well. You know, things were getting a little bit flat for the West Indies. That little partnership with Joss Butler and Ben Stokes started going, and they got a bit flat. And he brought himself onto bowl, and all of a sudden something changed, and the whole vibe changed in the field even, and that shows the great character he has as a leader. And definitely Windies are on the up and up for me. So just great to see and great to watch some live cricket again, man.
No, 100%. It's been quiet. It's tough as a coach because you want to get out there and start doing the work. But on the other hand, on Jason Holder's leadership, if you can think back in the last 5, 6 years that he's been at the helm, 5 years maybe, if I'm not mistaken, um, there's been a couple
Yeah,
of
there and
off the
thereabouts.
field challenges for the West Indies that he's really stood out and stood for something and really led the way. You see him now with the whole lives matter, leading the charge, really standing strong and really putting out a huge statement and a huge and how you know as a team, as a nation, obviously feel.
Yeah,
So a huge amount of disdain towards the inequalities in the world and the poor treatment of people of color around the world. So he's never been shy to stand up as a leader, and I think it's really really something that's positive, and something that I think you know is really commendable, if I could say it in that way, for him as a leader.
yeah, definitely. I've loved the way that the West Indians have gone about, especially the Black Lives Matter thing. It's awesome to see, especially from Jason himself. It's on the forefront of his mind, even though he hasn't played cricket in 6 months, I believe it is. It's still, not putting himself first, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, no, it's been interesting because yeah, you have what you have going on over there, and then you look closer to home, and you have the challenges that we face, which I'm sure we'll probably
Yeah,
discuss later or at some
yeah,
point in a conversation. But yeah, I think good
yeah,
times. Good to see
definitely.
sport back. Good to see football back, man. Good to see United playing well. So I'm happy. I'm not. I don't even remember who won
Definitely.
the league. So I'm just watching football. I'm not worried about the league. I'm just teasing. Well done to
Yeah,
Liverpool.
good to
Fair play
see.
to them.
Yeah, well done to them. Unfortunately for us United fans, it's not a great time at the moment, but I'm sure we'll get through it. So just touching on the all-rounder conversation I had or discussion I had last week, um, Andile, you wanted to especially mention Andile Petrukwaya. So in your opinion, why hasn't he managed to cement that all-rounder spot for himself in Test cricket just yet?
Oh man, Andy. Um, I think I think look, obviously in order to be able to play test cricket you need to play first class cricket. Or franchise 4-day cricket in our country. Um, so I think if we are talking about Andile being this guy, which I believe he can be, um, if you look from a technical point of view, as a batting coach, if you look at just one thing that he has that is very hard to teach because he's got it naturally, and that is a beautiful bat swing. Okay, he's got a great bat swing. He's got all the right fundamentals to really turn himself into. He's 24 years old, so by the time he's in 6 years' time, by the time he's 30, he could be a really, really good batsman and bowler because the issue with the bowling is is non-existent really. I think he takes big wickets in one-day cricket for us. He bowls. He's got good
Yeah,
skills. I think he could. I think maybe he might get more with the ball with a red ball. But I think that it all starts with encouraging the player. If the player has, we also got to understand that players, the money is in white ball cricket. Okay, and I'm not saying that Andile is choosing to play white ball cricket because of money. I would be lying. He probably just can't get into the test side because he's probably not
yeah,
playing 4-day cricket, enough 4-day cricket. But if that's the case, he needs to play 4-day cricket, and he needs to, at the Dolphins or whichever franchise will have him, instead of him batting 7, if he's going to be our 7 and bowl and be our or fourth
yeah,
seamer, he's probably going to need to bat 5 in franchise cricket and score big hundreds. Because if you're
definitely.
going to compare him, if you're going to compare his first class stats with him and Jadeja, who bats 6 for India in Test cricket, Jadeja in
Yeah,
Ranji Trophy has got hundreds. Ashwin's
it's
got
got
Test
big
hundreds.
hundreds.
He bats
We
8.
got some double times as
Um,
well.
yeah, so I do believe that if we're going to progress and develop the guy, we have an opportunity in our transition now to develop his game in first class cricket and still play him white ball cricket because he's a key
Yeah,
player. He's won a lot of matches for South Africa. Um, so and that's where I think he's a guy that he would be an option. I'm not saying he is the option. I just feel like he's a good future option also. There are other guys. There's Vian Mulder, so,
yeah,
who there's Jason Smith. There's Dayan
yeah, Jason
Khalim.
Smith.
If you're not going to look for a number,
I like the,
excuse me, sorry.
I like
Maybe
sorry, I like
yeah. You're saying.
go on.
No, I'm just saying like that we have a lot of options in terms of that, but I don't think the guys we have to maybe take a risk or something like that on someone or a couple of guys.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, Jason Smith needs to dominate for the Cobras. George Linder, I think, is starting to look good also as that all-rounder. So there's a bit of a pool developing of players, and they're not. I mean, George is 27, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
Yeah,
I'm
28 now.
just thinking that if we're going to build, and I know people are speaking, where are we going, what are we doing? If we're going to build, those are our options. Chris Morris is not a bad option, especially in Test cricket for me, because he's got an extra yard of pace on maybe some of the other guys in that group. Gets a bit of extra bounce. He is an X Factor match winner also. So
Yeah,
again, it's an option. I'm not saying that these are the guys that I think are the best players,
people are looking at it.
but it's guys probably on the radar, and I'm assuming that if we can talk about them, there are people that are looking at them and having conversations about them too.
Yeah, I think for me, what stands out with Andile, especially if you look at how many games he's actually played in domestic franchise cricket, there's not many. I think he's on about, 60 or 70 games, and a guy like Vian Mulder's nearly on 40 games already. Vian's obviously been in a lot. Um, it's difficult. It's difficult, obviously, for Andile when he's got so much going on in terms of the white ball stuff. And I think what's happened with him, especially, is that he's been pigeonholed as a white, and he was winning games for us, T20 games and one day games. And then he's kind of been pigeonholed into this one day player. Um, Whereas I think if you look at guys that are doing it consistently at franchise level in terms of the all rounder thing, I look at guys like, like you said, George Linder's coming through. I like the look of Jason Smith a lot. I think he's got a lot to offer. He averages quite high with the bat, decent average with the ball. I think he's one that could, if you throw him in, he could be one for the future as well. But yeah, I think for since sort of been looking, and I think that once we find the right guy, it's going to be a thing of letting him grow into the role. Jacques had 20 test matches before he really started performing for the Proteas, and I think what happens nowadays is guys get a chance for. But he got a chance, and I just think that we need to be a little bit more patient as a fan base and as a as a team as well, and let these guys grow into their roles as they get older.
Everything leads to everything. And that's how much of a opportunity do we persist with certain players, and how much do we persist with certain players? So
Yeah,
certain
well,
players,
yeah, that's
there's a marketing
certain
campaign
players
around
get
certain
more.
players.
Yeah, well, I'll just give you just one quick example. Stian van Sale, when he got dropped, came back to the Cobras, got a double ton, and then was batting 3 or 4 for the Proteas in the very next Test match. And then Temba Bavuma got dropped as well, scored his highest first class score, came back, and then didn't play. So I think that's kind of what you're referring to there. People catch
I'm just
the subtle
alluding.
hints there, then
I'm
so
just
be it.
alluding. I'm not saying anything. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
alluding to maybe,
So
slight.
sticking with the Proteas now. Obviously, performances haven't been great of late. It's sort of since the World Cup and beyond. Are there any guys emerging that you would pick out as to look out for in the near future that can help us win both now and in the future?
What's happening? So sorry, I'm just trying to get that question
Are you with
again.
me?
Are there any guys that are coming through?
Yeah. Are there any guys that are coming through that are going to help us win now and towards the future?
I think this 45-man squad is an answer, but it's also maybe missed something. In a sense that there are guys that are left out of this group that could probably easily be in this group, but with the thinking in the selection of that 45, if I can look at what the director and the coach and everyone has done, and it can't be easy because we have a lot of good players. But
Yeah.
what we need to understand as South Africans is we are very passionate as a nation, but we also need to understand that we are young as a system. So if I can explain how we are young as a system, if you went across every franchise, how many 33-year-olds for the last 10 years?
True, very true.
So how are these guys, because we get under 19s, very good national under 19 players coming from a World Cup or coming from SA under 19 bilateral series, going into semi-pro cricket, and probably the oldest guy in the semi-pro team is 25.
Yeah,
So
it must
those
be
guys
difficult.
Yeah, so sorry, Clint.
I'm just losing you a bit here. I'm just losing you, but I'm just saying it must be difficult also with a lot of the more senior guys that you. Now Graham did talk about getting those guys back. Do you think that'll help with bringing through talent?
Yeah, I lost you there, bud.
Are we losing you here?
Yeah, well, it's very like every now and then it just kind of loses its. I'm really sorry, listeners. I really have a lot to share, in terms of thoughts, but it's just a bit distorted every now and then. Um, but yeah, I don't know. You know, if I'm still on the same page as you were on about the system being young, if the system is young, we gotta make sure that, and everyone is trying their bit, but our semi-pro coaches, our under 19 coaches, um, our academy coaches, our franchise coaches all need to actively coach. We can't have managers of people. Can't be managing a
Okay.
20-year-old. You need to coach a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
make him
They need to.
ready for Test cricket. You need to make sure that, if he gets 400 runs this season in his rookie season, he needs to get to 600 next season, and so forth, and grow and grow and grow. So we need a coach.
And back it up. Yeah.
So we had a mass exodus of senior players that didn't go out of Test cricket and go back to franchise cricket. They went out of cricket and out of cricket into the other side of the door,
Yeah.
being administrators or being consultants, or it would have been, imagine being in a dressing room and you are a young, guys like Tando and Tini and them were very lucky, I think, as a bowler, and T Nabi and them. You At the end of Rory's career, Rory's in the change room. He's standing at mid off. He's guiding you. We don't have enough guys leaving Test cricket
Yeah.
or international cricket and going back to franchise cricket for a year or two
And
to give back maybe to the system, and then go into other
yeah.
fields within cricket or outside of cricket. So, and I'm not saying that people have to do that, but I'm just saying that it is maybe a way. It's difficult to do it when you're losing players to Kolpak. So, Dane, for example,
Yeah.
Dane
That's another
Patterson,
issue.
Dane Patterson gets all this experience being with Vernon, with Rory, with Shah Langerfeld, possibly even with Mondes on Deki, with JP in the team, with Hashim at the Cobras. So many great players. Kieran Pollard in the T20 stuff. Guys like Justin Kemp. Shucks. Okay. Now, this guy's just about ready to step into our. After all that experience and knowledge has been invested and given to this player, and he could probably go to Test cricket and come give it back, he takes a Kolpak deal and goes overseas.
Yeah. It's a especially
And you got to
from
respect
a
it. So
financial
what I'm trying to say
perspective.
is, it's difficult. It's money, and it's okay though. People
Yeah.
need to live, bruh.
Yeah, look, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, playing cricket is for your nation and for your franchise is all good and well. But if you're going to earn double the amount of money playing on a Colpack contract, you can't really turn that down. Um, it's just a bit frustrating for us that we don't get those senior pros, as we call them, back into the system, giving back to the guys and learning. Hopefully, Graham can try and sort that out, because the Colpack situation is changing. So hopefully we can get those guys back in the system and helping the younger lads out. I think that's really going to help.
Yeah, they've just done a way to look after themselves also, again, to sustain the growth of English
Yeah.
cricket. Just like Indian
Yeah.
cricket, India will have X amount of overseas players, but only so many on the field. So England's gone, you're allowed 2 overseas players because obviously the Kolpak thing is going to change. That still means they can
Yeah.
retain 2. They're not going to go. They're not going to go for a Sia Sibia. They're going to go for a KG Rabada
Yeah.
as an overseas,
Yeah.
which then will say on a 3-year
They're going to go for the
contract.
most bang for their buck.
Exactly. So it's still like these bras are still crippling us on the side here, and and then there's other issues on top of it, and then you've got not enough money in cricket in the country to try and maybe perhaps expand things and create a bigger pool without watering
Yeah.
down the amount of money that people are making. You know, if we look at it holistically, it's a big job for anyone to take on. And I respect everyone
Yeah.
that would
It's a
have the
tough
stones to
situation.
do it. But it's got its challenges, and we can't just pick a we can't just pick a we can't just pick a team like in Australia. Okay, we can't just pick a team like India would pick a team. We can't just pick a team like Sri Lanka or anyone else. Even the West Indies, we can't pick a team like them. We have whole masala vibe going on there with the polony and the Vienna and the steak, and we've got to make a winning nation out of that. So I
Yeah.
respect
It's
it,
it's
and
tough. It's tough.
but there are systemic issues that we need to have hard conversations about, and not shy away from, and people need not be offended, you know, and feel like they need to
Yeah.
defend the color of their skin. It's not an attack, or it's not a political movement or an attack on you being a
Yeah.
certain ethnic race or whatever. It's actually, there are evident and proven things that happen to oppress or derail or slow down the progression of a certain group of people. Whether it may be
Yeah.
deliberate or by mistake, I don't know. But I've experienced deliberate stuff that happens, and
Yeah.
you know, people are sick and tired of it. They just want to be equal.
Well, yeah. Well, they can't hide behind that anymore. People are tweeting about it. I saw Vera Peterson tweet something out yesterday about some issues that he had with his career. I've seen Hussein Manak. I've seen even as early as Tony DeZorzi tweeted today something about what we're talking about here. It's an issue that's coming up, and
But
it's
why are we
unavoidable at
speaking
this
about this
point.
like this?
Like you say,
Why are we being
hard
why are we speaking
conversations need
about this like
to
it's
happen,
a
and I
subject
think
that's around
they
the
will happen
corner?
very soon. I think it is around the corner. I think people are starting to notice.
But how can it take so long is my question. How does it take so long to look at the mistreatment of, I mean, did you read Coach Ashwell Prince's tweet now? This is not the first time he's saying something like this.
Hmm.
So when are people? So people
Yeah,
are
well,
noticing now because some guy got the life squeezed out of his throat by a white man on his knee, with a knee to his throat. Now people want to look at it. No,
yeah,
sorry, bruh.
I hear you.
It's been happening to our parents, to our grandparents, to our great grandparents for the last 450 years. And Michael Holding said it the other day, and a grown man, utata, a parent, someone's father, stood on international television
Yeah,
and he nearly broke down in tears. And people have the audacity
it
to
was,
make to have a go at Lungingiti and Wandile Makwetu for standing up for what they believe in. So now black people can't speak out. They can't have
yeah.
a movement.
Well, that's the thing now. That's the thing now. You can't stop the movement now, my brother. It's impossible to stop. So there's no longer going to be the fear of losing your place or losing your job, because now if you speak out, the numbers are going to be very much on your side. So now's the time, and I think change is going to happen. And whether it happens quickly or slowly, I would prefer it to happen quickly, obviously. But I think change is coming, and I think the players themselves are tired of it and are gonna step up now and really be the voice behind the change.
I'm waiting for one of our old icons to stand up and say, out of the goodness of their heart, and be honest and say that
Yeah,
they stand they stand fast by this whole Black Lives Matter, and they understand what it means, and they want to
yeah,
educate themselves to grow. Because the only reason why there's a movement now, okay, is because it's not because of the incident. It's about it's actually the fact that more people of color, the generation of if we can go to the guys that played in '92 in that World Cup, the players of color that
yeah,
played there, or the players of color that went there. I don't know how you want to say it, because I
yeah,
don't think they played much. They those guys suffered in silence. You look further down the line now,
definitely.
these players are more educated about who they are and what their rights are, and the scars are not as deep, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense.
So they're not gonna sorry, just keep quiet because it's okay. No, they're gonna stand up. They've got more platforms. They are role models in their communities, and their communities are large. Um, and they are going to speak out, just like, everyone was like, kudos to Marcus Rashford for standing up and turning the government's decision over about the free lunches for kids. You
Yeah,
know, so it's so weird being South African. It's almost as if like the minority in South Africa think that if anything happens, we are exempt from what happens overseas. So what happens overseas is great. We're making a movement for what's happening overseas. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, we have a man in Cape Town nearly like embarrassed. And we say, no,
definitely.
it was a that. It's brain dead. It's heartless.
Yeah. Uh, Look, my brother, the time is now for
It's
change.
yeah.
Uh, it's been happening far too long, and no longer can we be silent on these matters, man. It's too much. It's too much.
So look, I don't know. I think look, well, there are good lights. I mean, you get lemons and he turned them into lemon juice. You said, and I'm sure that there may have been a clause in his contract. He's got to transform the team. He's got to do X, Y, and Z. He's still got to win. He got it right, and he picked people, and he played. He backed players of color. So we didn't lose with players of color. And if you go into our
Yeah.
cricket, and if you look back into our history with teams that weren't transformed, I don't know how successful we were, because we
Yeah.
always say, our strength is our diversity. So if our strength is our diversity, why aren't we willing to keep diversity? Why aren't we willing to keep mixing
Yeah.
this pot
Let's let's
of the flavors that
let's
we have in our
diversify
country?
some more.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and in cricket, I really don't think we were successful before readmission. Like before our modern day era, when the transformation became a little bit strong, we achieved a lot more nation building things. We went and won in Australia. We became number one in England on the back of some hot, like proper tough performances by our whole team. Mackay and those guys bowling
Yeah.
well. Mackay getting 10 wickets at Lords. We've achieved things. Paul Adams being the fastest bowler to get to 100 Test wickets. Ashwell Prince
Yeah.
is Ashwell Prince Ashwell Prince averages 49 or 48. That's when he finished his career. That's a hell of a feat.
Yeah.
Temba Bavuma's 100. There's
The
been
top
many,
player.
and I'm leaving out so many different things that have happened
Yeah.
that
Look,
are
we
positive
can go on and on.
with transformation. So why do we fear it so much? Why are we so scared?
I don't know. I don't know. It's a tough one, but if we can just move on from that for now, we can always get back to that. It's a interesting
Yeah.
debate,
Sorry,
and I'd love to get back on that.
my
But let's
head's
just get
cold.
back on. Let's just talk about some SA under-19 cricket. So for the longest time, the mainstream media has kind of neglected the SA under-19 boys. And what can you tell us about the setup and schoolboy cricket? How do you go about scouting schoolboys?
Um, so we've got various programs. So we've got our school system, which is linked to our previously disadvantaged and development program. They
Hmm.
work concurrently. So what will happen with a player, to identify a player normally takes about, it comes across from even as far as the first national week they play, which is under 13 week. Um, and then what will happen is a guy will show traits, he'll grow under 14, and then under 15s when we start trying to have a proper look at him. And these players come from our various hubs that we have in the different provinces. There's hubs and RPCs in the townships and our previously disadvantaged areas, which have you know professional qualified coaches that work for Cricket South Africa, and then they will play. Player will get recognized from the hub. He'll go to an RPC. This will generally be the journey of a player of color. Um, from a hub to an RPC, from an RPC into a provincial sort of system, and then from the provincial system, they'll play the various national weeks. By that time, what normally happens, or what has happened, is that the really exceptional players get identified by one of the traditional boys' schools, which then curtails them to play a bit more cricket. Also, um, at
Okay.
at a competitive standard. What the hubs and RPCs do, the hubs play amongst each other, and then they choose an RPC team in each age group, which plays against the boys' schools, which will give the players of color that have a bit of talent.
Okay.
Uh, so that system would work, and then there's a camp. There are camps. There are in their region, so there'll be a regional camp, and then that'll be the three franchises, the three unions or four unions or two unions in that franchise will pick their best players, and then out of that, the best performers and the guys that we feel will go through the pipeline then go to the national under 17 camp. So by the time the
Okay.
guys get to under 17,
Okay.
they would some guys have been because they're exceptional, the Gerald Coetzee and those guys and the John O'Birds
Yeah.
of this world,
We'll
and
get to.
then would go to under 17 national week, or the really good under 17s go to the Kaya Majola week, and then from
Okay.
there
So
the team will then get the teams will be the provincial teams will play, and then they'll play the Cubs week, which is like the of all the players.
okay.
13 players from each franchise will go to Stellenbosch, and they generally it's in Stellenbosch or Potch, but it hasn't been in Potch for a few years, and then they'll play a franchise week there, which is 550 over games for a trophy, and then the national under 19 team will be picked from there. Then we'll start, building from there.
Okay. So I hope everyone at home understood that. I got the gist of it. Then I just want to mate of mine, Stuart Botha. He's got a budding young all-rounder. He just wants to know if there's anything specific that you guys look for in terms of the all-rounder position. If there's anything that he needs to or work on or do to make himself stand out? Obviously, he has ambitions of making the SA under-19 team one day. I think, what can he do now to make himself stand out, sort of when he gets to that under-17 level?
I think performance. You know, we always speak about school. He's got his school and he's averaging 60. But when you get week and you play against your peers, and there are selectors, and there's media, and there's perform at that level, or have the potential to that show us that they've got the potential to win matches at that level, and we're not. And there's no player that represents SA under 19 that would or represent South Africa that hasn't done something along the way to be identified to be in a
Something
program
special,
of that nature. And yeah, you know, Cricket South Africa, Mr. Vinnie Barnes, and then the high performance team at Cricket South Africa put a lot of time into the programs and the planning. And Mr. Niels Momberg puts a lot of time with schools and tertiary cricket, puts a lot of money and time into the camps, into the different festivals, and getting team players to get exposure to that cricket. So performing at those levels consistently will get you noticed. There's no way that someone can leave you out.
Okay. Yeah, he is at Weinberg Boys. So if you're listening, Stuart, and your son, performance out on the pitch, they can't deny you. Then just the next one here. If you look back at our past black players that have played for the Proteas, predominantly been bowlers. What do you think we can do to change that in bringing in more young black batsmen through the system?
Yeah, you're asking me something I'm very passionate about. So I believe that when because players of color are identified, and I'm not going to say black Africans only. I'm going to speak about players of color, so black African players. I'm going to speak about Indian players, colored players, whatever it is, anyone that is not Caucasian. Okay. What happens is these players, especially from the, they need to go when a top school identifies these guys. You can't pick someone from Langa as a batsman and you take him to school batsman, but then when he gets into that school, he's not getting skilled to consistently against the best players. He finds issues begin about producing batsmen. So these players come to these schools. They can't afford private coaching. So he's not going to get someone throwing balls to him every day. But I believe that the person that identified him, who's the first team coach or the under 14, needs to spend extra time helping that player adjust to the environment, developing to be an opening batsman. And then what is most important, my brother, development does not happen without opportunity.
Certainly.
Then they need to provide opportunity for these players, because you have to meet a certain target to qualify to be in a tournament. No, you must play them against in your big game, your St. Andrews versus Grey Bloom. You play them in those games. You play them in a Rondebosch versus Bishop's game, and he opens the batting. You don't hide him somewhere down the order. But that is why guys aren't coming through. So a black African player, and I've been one of those coaches, we find ourselves picking our black African batsmen from these top schools, but they're playing second and third team. And then they go and outperform the players that are playing in the first teams in the provincial weeks. So I believe we need to identify. If you're going to identify and take someone out of their environment and their community and their role where they're playing and how they bat, you need to keep developing them. You need to keep giving opportunity for them to grow. That's how we're going to keep producing them.
I also think that, you know, taking these players out of their respective, like you say, like Uguletu Cricket Club or Kailitu Cricket Club or wherever they're from, taking them from there, right, and putting them in these so-called elite schools. I also from that's that good. I believe in having him there, and rather than taking him away, you need to bring the coaching and the development and stuff to him, and so that he can develop. Having these doesn't help because now their best player is gone. Now they get trashed every week, and it doesn't. You lose players like that, and you might find a guy there who's not as talented as that guy now, but in a couple of years' time, he could have been even better than that player. But he's given up on cricket because his team gets trashed every week. So I think there's definitely a gap there that we're not developing these clubs and these schools that need it the most, and taking these players away from that situation also doesn't help. I know it's a tough one with funds and all and stuff like that, and no parent is going to turn down scholarships. But at times it just feels like they make the kids feel like they should just be grateful to be at that school, where, you know,
that's what happened to us growing up. But
he's actually there because he's talented and has something to offer.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, that, because the education element is one thing that I think, as someone that's going to be a parent and a parent of color, education is number one, because I want my child to know what's going on in the world. But I think every parent feels like that. For parents and a lot of these kids, we all share a similar story. You know, our parents aren't always the middle class black South Africans. They are the minimal. They make the minimum wage just about, and you know, to get free schooling, free accommodation, free, and that parent probably has 6 or 7 kids in the house plus their family, and then you've got if you can take one mouth out of the house and he can go to boarding school and develop and learn, because black parents believe you go to school for you're used to believe that you go to school for education. You're not going for sport. You must forget about sport. You must pass. So it is a tough, and that's where the socioeconomic challenges come in. But I do want to say one thing and make it really clear. Cricket South Africa are doing everything they can to bridge those gaps. There are different bursary schemes with various corporates that work with Cricket South Africa. Momentum being one of them. I think Sunfoil. There's a bursary fund from Sunfoil. There's various programs in terms of the Hubs and RPC program allows these players to now be coached. I think last year, I may be wrong, last year, out of the hubs around the country, 150 hub system that were playing at the national weeks. It's just a matter of time that Cricket South Africa may
Just losing you a bit there again.
is to get facilities better, you know. But when you get facilities better, you also want them to be maintained so that the players practice on good pitches and play good matches on good pitches. CSA have this initiative with Momentum, which is the friendship games, where the RPC team will play against one of the top boys' schools in each province, throughout the season. So they are trying to bridge the gap and expose boys and give opportunities to players to be seen, to get their profile out there, and to get an hurting as a cricket. And say that Cricket South Africa is not doing anything. We're just a mess. There's a shambles. I'm part of the system, and I believe that, especially in the development structures and the youth structures and under 19s, that we're doing the right things to make sure that we keep producing cricketers and flooding the market with good quality performers.
Hmm. So, well, thanks for that insight there. I mean, like I've complained about CSA a lot on my podcast, especially. Um, See, for me, the transparency is just not there. We don't know about these programs. Not out in the open. You have to go really looking if you want to find them. So, thanks for that. And then, last but not least, I have to touch on it: the Lungi Ngidi situation, obviously coming out very strongly for Black Lives Matter. And then, Pat Simcox and Boeta Dippena coming out and saying all lives matter, especially, the farmers and, that situation. And look, I think that the situation with the farmers and Black Lives Matter is two separate situations. And right now, the world has a movement going on, and it's called Black Lives Matter. And we are not saying that all lives don't matter, because obviously all lives matter. However, the Black Lives Matter, and I just think that guys telling Lungi and Gidi to take a back seat.
Yeah.
Did you get
So
that?
yeah, I got the gist of it about but
Yeah.
you know you know I, people need to understand that this Black Lives Matter movement is not a political movement. It's not disregard or any other challenges, because in the same bracket we've got concerns when it comes to gender-based violence in this very country. We're not saying that Black lives are the only lives that matter, but right now in this time, Black people feel like there are too many disparities and little issues that happen on a daily basis in the suffering. I can't even remember how many lives have been taken by police officers in the United States, and they're not white people. It's white cops versus black people. So people are saying, or what the other issues are. That's what these guys are alluding to. And to
Yeah.
I really appreciated Mr. Harry Shapiro wrote back to the gent these tweets and you know
Looks like we've lost Sia there. See if I can get him back quickly. Okay, it looks like I've lost Sia there. Unfortunately, technical issues on my side or his side or whatever the case may be. I think that what he was touching on was a very touchy subject for him. I think a great analogy that I saw today on Twitter was that when this whole thing about the rhinos came about, no one was saying save all the animals.
they were saying save the rhinos because they are endangered. And I think the a similar thing with Black Lives Matter. No one's saying that all lives don't matter. We're saying that Black Lives matter because black people are being slaughtered, and that's just the case here. So yeah, just want to thank you guys for all for joining me. And I want to just say that this video will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, so you guys can go check it out as well. You can watch it afterwards. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well. And hopefully we can have more guests in the future. And thanks, Sia. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to say goodbye to you, but we'll have a conversation again, my man, and we'll pick this up again sometime soon. So thanks, guys, for joining me. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Cheers for now.